Hello, welcome to the Bearded Horror Review. My name is Dan, aka the Boogey Man, and on this show I'll watch a horror movie, either a classic or a new release, talk about some good points, talk about some bad points if there are any of either, give it a rating out of 10 if I remember to do it, and let you know if I think the film is worth a watch or not, in my humble opinion. And on this episode I'm going to be talking about the brand new 2024 release of the remake, reimagining, reboot, whatever you want to call it, of Salem's Lot. Now, if you don't know about Salems Lot, it is originally a novel by Stephen King. It is a vampire story. If you don't know any more than that, obviously I'm going to be going into it over in the video. So, yeah, well, let's talk about it.
Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary in the lot recently?
Before we carry on, guys, if you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel, it's a little thing for you, but it's such a huge help to me, and it really helps out with the algorithm and helps this channel grow. I really appreciate it. So Salem's Lot. Yeah, before we carry on, I do want to say I'm going to be talking about it just like in all my other reviews. I try not to do spoilers, but if you don't want to know anything about the film at all, here is a possible spoiler warning right now. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Spooky vampires, spoilers. So Salem's Lot is a remake, reimagining, reboot, whatever you want to call it, of the Stephen King novel of the same name. There was a mini-series that was made in the 80s, and then that was it the 80s? I don't know, this is when it was made. It says it here on the screen. That got turned into a film, and that's got some iconic imagery in it. It's one of those where horror fans really remember it fondly, especially Stephen King fans, because he didn't have a million bajillion zillion like adaptions of his books back then, unlike now where every other film is a Stephen King adaptation. And they did some really cool stuff with it. But it did have its flaws and stuff. Like I said, it was a mini-series that got kind of made into a film. So yeah, it didn't have the best budget in the world. It was long and condensed down from a mini-series, so it did have pacing issues. But it's a classic. I like it. It's not one of those films that I will put on all the time, but every so often I will chuck it on and give it a watch. So yeah, we got HBO Max, or just Max now, have done a version of the film. If you've been following my channel at all, if you've gone through the videos, you'll see I did a trailer reaction not long ago, and I wasn't really very impressed by the trailer. I wasn't really looking forward to this, but I went anyway, and I went to see it, and I will always give a film a chance. So, did I like it? Before we do, we're going to talk about the plot. Very basic. Ben Myers, or however you want to say it, is a writer who grew up in this town called Jerusalem's Lot, nicknamed Salem's Lot, and as an adult he is returned to kind of write a novel about his past and the town, and it doesn't really say much in the film. It just says he's returned to write a novel and he's doing some research.
I'm here for research.
What exactly, though, are you researching?
At the same time, a man and his friend, who we don't really see, have moved into this old spooky house on the hill and have opened an antique shop. And from there, people start getting attacked and turned into vampires. And that's the plot. It's very basic, very simple. It's a cool story. The book is really good and it delves a lot deeper into it, but the film, it's really simple. Guy comes into town. It's set in the 70s, which is really great. It's just like the book, and it has that kind of vibe to it, of that small town Americana. Straight away, I will say the film actually really was better than I thought it was going to be. From the trailers, it looked really cheaply made. It looked kind of cheesy. It looked like there was a lot of bad acting in it, but I was incorrect. For the most part, there is some really good acting in this film. The effects obviously got polished before it was released, and some of the things that looked a lot worse to me did get spruced up and looked a bit better. That being said, it still didn't look incredible, but it looked better. Now, this film, like I said, it didn't disappoint, but there were some real downsides to this film. The daytime scenes with people just interacting with each other as normal were really good. Some really good acting, some really good dialogue from the guy who plays Ben and his love interest and a few other people in the town. However, unfortunately, this falls down where a lot of films like this kind of do, and that is with the child actor. And I've said in the past, whenever you have child actors, you do have to take it with a pinch of salt, because, you know, they're younger, they haven't had years and years of acting classes, and, you know, they haven't had the experience. However, even with that being said, it really stood out in this film that main child actor was not that great. Homelander's son is in this as well, and it's very obvious that it was filmed a while ago because he's still tiny with his extremely high-pitched voice. This film, they have kept some of the Stephen Kingisms in, which is kind of like bullies and people are just awful and the main villain is people. But yeah, it doesn't really feel like a Stephen King film anymore. It feels like a Conjuring version of a Stephen King film, unless this has been made by the people who did make the Conjuring films. I think some of the producers of it, and it does show, especially in the nighttime and the vampire scenes, that this has been made by the same people who made the Conjuring sequels. It gets cheesy, the lighting is overbearing and doesn't really fit well. It makes it look cheaper. There was a scene in the trailer which was set outside and it was extremely blue and foggy, and same again in this. They haven't fixed that kind of thing. It does look like it was filmed on a green screen or the volume, and that kind of brings it down, because some of the scenes are fantastic and really well shot. The director of this has done a good job for the most part, but those nighttime scenes and stuff like that, not so great. And there's a couple of other things. The opening line is done by an actor who is one of those actors that's just like, hey, it's that guy. And it is the cheesiest dialogue with the cheesiest acting. So for the first few minutes, I was really worried for this film. I'm British, and it starts with this man trying to do a British accent, and he is hamming it up like a proper 1930s villain. Like, you will follow my instructions exactly. Do you understand? And that was bad characterization for that, because that character in the book and in the previous adaptation is supposed to be a guy who fits in, and he's not supposed to be super suspicious, and he stands out, like I said, like a comical villain in this. It's very, very strange why they've done this characterization. He's even walking around with like a top hat and stuff. It's just like all these horrible things and people are dying in the town. I wonder who it could be. Maybe the evil talking guy twirling his mustache with the top hat. Oh well. But the film, it does follow the basic outline of the book very well. It's not the worst adaptation I've seen. It does cut around some corners and some kind of key points and change a few things around. Not noticeable giant things. Doesn't impact the story really in any way. But the bad side of it, other than like those nighttime scenes and the acting, are the vampire makeup and effects. Unfortunately, they've gone the route of over-designed and CGI in a lot of parts, and the distorted voice, which I absolutely hate, which is a real shame, because it could have been noticeably creepy, and yet they went with generic, which again shows when it's made by the people who've made the Conjuring series and those kinds of films. They are basic, generic. They don't really kind of do anything interesting with the looks of their villains and their monsters. If you've seen like Annabelle Comes Home, you'll know what I'm talking about. Everything looks like something that's been pulled off of goddamn Unity. But hey, what can you do? So yeah, this film actually surprised me. I genuinely did enjoy it. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It was fine. It was not too long. It didn't drag too much. There were some really good moments in it. Unfortunately, there was some really bad acting and some really cheesy dialogue, and the vampire effects were just a bit. They could, after seeing things like Terrifier and stuff, like, they could have done so much better. There's this design quality that they've got, which is basically fix it in post, or cheesy, generic designs. And like I said, that distorted voice thing drives me goddamn mad. But what did you think about Salem's Lot, guys? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got some more videos coming up this week, including the start of my new series where I'm going to be looking at indie horror films, where I'm going to be looking at them from more of a kind of, has this got potential? Was this a good kind of story to watch kind of thing? And I'm going to consider it from a lower budget kind of standpoint. So that's going to be super fun. So watch out for that. And in the meantime, guys, all my social media is down below if you want to follow me on Instagram and places like that. And till the next one, happy watching.